The comedian who made millions laugh carried a secret pain that almost destroyed him. Chris Rock stands on stage. The crowd roars. Cameras flash. Everyone sees the confident comedian, but nobody sees the broken boy from Brooklyn who survived bullying, poverty, and loss. Today, we're telling the real story, the story behind the laughter, the story of a man who lost everything, rebuilt himself, and became a legend. Before we start, hit that like button if you believe Chris Rock is one of the greatest comedians alive. Chris Rock was born on February 7, 1965, in South Carolina. His parents moved to Brooklyn when he was a baby. They wanted a better life. Instead, they found struggle. His father, Julius, worked 2 jobs, truck driver by day, newspaper delivery by night. His mother, Rosalie, taught kids and helped broken families. They had 7 children. Money was tight. Food was scarce. But they never gave up. Chris was 10 years old when his life changed. The city sent him to a white school across town. They called it integration. But for Chris, it was war. Every morning, he got on a yellow bus. Every morning, he entered hell. White kids surrounded him. They called him names. They pushed him. They hit him. He was alone, different, unwanted. Chris never told his parents. He carried the pain inside. The bruises healed. The words stayed. He learned something important. If you can make people laugh, they stop hurting you. By age 13, Chris became quiet. He walked fast, spoke less, but inside something was growing. Humor became his weapon. Pain became his teacher. The Brooklyn streets were cold. Streetlights flickered. Sirens screamed through the night. But Chris was listening. Every insult became a lesson. Every lonely walk home became material. At 18, he left school. Not because he wanted to, because he had to survive. Chris Rock at 18 had nothing. No money, no connections, no safety net. Just a dream that seemed impossible. He lived in a tiny room. The heat barely worked. Winter nights were brutal. He slept in his jacket. Sometimes he counted ceiling cracks just to forget his empty stomach. During the day, he mopped floors. He delivered food. He watched rich people eat while he went hungry. At night, he climbed onto small stages in dark clubs. The microphone was old. The crowd was drunk. The pay was nothing. Some nights, people walked out during his set. The room emptied. The exit sign glowed red. Chris stood alone under dim lights, wondering if he'd ever make it. He rode the subway until morning because he couldn't afford to go home. The train rattled through tunnels. He wrote jokes between shivers. He wasn't trying to be funny. He was trying to stay alive. Winter of 1985 was the worst. Wind cut through his thin coat. He ate 1 slice of pizza a day, sometimes nothing. But his notebook stayed full. Every rejection became material. Every closed door became motivation. He performed anywhere people would listen. Basement clubs, dive bars, open mics where nobody cared. But he kept showing up. Every night he got better. His jokes got sharper. His voice got stronger. Then destiny walked through the door. 1986 changed everything. Eddie Murphy, already a comedy god, walked into a small club. He saw Chris perform. Most people saw a struggling kid. Eddie saw talent. Eddie cast Chris in Beverly Hills Cop 2. The role was small. The paycheck was small. But it was everything. Someone finally believed in him. Chris was 21. For years, he'd been hungry, humiliated, and hopeless. Now someone had opened the door. In 1990, Chris joined Saturday Night Live. This was the big leagues. Studio 8H, millions watching. The pressure was crushing. The countdown started. 3, 2, 1, live. Chris stood under cold blue lights. One mistake and you're done. One bad joke and you're forgotten. The writer's room was war. Everyone fighting for airtime. Everyone trying to survive. You either kill or you die, Chris said later. And most of us died. He worked at SNL until 1993. He learned how to write, how to perform, how to survive under pressure. But when it ended, silence returned. He walked through New York streets at night, empty, alone, too famous to start over, too broke to stop. So he went back to where it started. Small rooms, cheap microphones, real crowds. 1996 was the year everything exploded. Chris released Bring the Pain. The lights dimmed. Chris walked on stage. His palms were wet. His heart pounded. Then he started talking. The jokes were sharp. The truth was sharper. He talked about race, relationships, and reality. No filter, no fear, just honesty. The crowd erupted. The special won 2 Emmys. It didn't just launch his career. It changed comedy forever. But success came with a price. When they call you the best, Chris said, you stop sleeping. Because what if they find out you're not? 1997 brought The Chris Rock Show. Chris interviewed politicians and celebrities. He asked tough questions. He told uncomfortable truths. The show ran until 2000. Then came Everybody Hates Chris in 2005. This was personal. His childhood pain became a TV show. The bullying, the poverty, the struggle. Millions watched and laughed. The show ran until 2009. It made people happy. But at 3 a.m., Chris sat in editing rooms, rewriting his own painful memories. The building was silent. The screen glowed. He was reliving trauma to make others laugh. Success couldn't protect Chris from pain. In 1988, when Chris was 23, his father died. Julius went in for simple surgery. He never came out. Chris raced to the hospital. Too late. His father was gone. The man who worked 2 jobs. The man who taught him to be strong. Gone. Chris wanted to scream. No sound came out. The dream was to make his father proud. Now his father would never see it. When my dad died, Chris said, part of me died too. In 2006, his half-brother Charles died from alcoholism. Charles was 52, quiet, private, struggling. Chris tried to help, but addiction won. Then came 1997. Chris Farley died. Chris and Farley were friends from SNL, the bad boys of comedy. They made each other laugh. But behind Farley's smile was deep sadness. December 18th, 1997, Farley was found dead in his apartment. 33 years old. Drugs and alcohol killed him. Farley was the funniest man I ever knew, Chris said. And maybe the saddest. In 2008, Bernie Mac died. Bernie was Chris's mentor, his big brother in comedy. They worked on movies together. Bernie taught Chris what it meant to be proud. We didn't just lose a man, Chris said at the funeral. We lost a giant. By 2008, Chris had buried his father, his brother, and his best friends. The laughter continued, but the pain never left. New York City. Chris met Malak Compton. She wasn't part of Hollywood. She worked in public relations. She was calm, steady, different. They married in 1996. No cameras, no press, just 2 people making a promise. They bought a house in New Jersey. Mornings were peaceful. Coffee, jazz music, laughter. In 2002, their daughter Lola was born. In 2004, Zara arrived. Chris became a father. Everything changed. He warmed bottles at 3 a.m. He pushed strollers through Central Park. Nobody recognized him. For once, he was just a dad. But fame has gravity. The higher you rise, the harder it is to stay grounded. Chris toured constantly. He missed birthdays, missed calls, missed moments. The man who promised peace brought home noise. Malak started her own charity, Styleworks, helping women rebuild their lives. While Chris entertained millions, Malak quietly changed lives. At home, they became strangers. The laughter faded. The silence grew. Then Chris made his biggest mistake. He was unfaithful. He let success convince him he was invincible. I wasn't a good husband, Chris admitted in his special tambourine. That's nobody's fault but mine. He went to therapy. Not to save his career, to save his soul. He learned why success made him lonely, why he ran from real connection. But it was too late. In December 2014, they separated. The divorce finalized in 2016. The marriage ended. But they chose grace. No public fights. No cruel words. They shared custody. Chris bought a house nearby. He picked up his daughters from school. Attended recitals. Showed up. Being a father isn't about weekends, Chris said. It's about showing up. March 27, 2022, the Academy Awards. The Dolby Theater sparkled with gold. Chris Rock stood on stage, confident, in control. He made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith. The crowd laughed. Then Will Smith stood up. Will walked toward the stage, slow, deliberate. Before anyone understood what was happening, Will's hand struck Chris across the face. The sound cracked through the theater. Gasps filled the room. Time stopped. Chris stood still, stunned, but composed. He didn't curse, didn't fight back. Didn't break. Wow, Chris said softly. His voice was steady but heavy with shock. The show continued, but the world had changed. That moment replayed endlessly. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone took sides. Chris said nothing. For months, he stayed silent. His calm became the loudest sound in a room full of noise. His brother Tony spoke out, defended Chris, but the media turned his words into headlines. Tony became part of the storm he tried to stop. Will Smith sat alone in his dressing room. The Oscar he'd just won felt heavy. He apologized publicly. His words trembled with regret. In 2023, Chris finally responded. His Netflix special, Selective Outrage, addressed everything. He turned humiliation into comedy, pain into power. He didn't seek revenge. He told the truth. The audience didn't just laugh. They exhaled. They saw courage. That night showed something important. Dignity can survive even the harshest spotlight. Grace is stronger than rage. Today, Chris Rock is 60 years old. His net worth is around $60 million. He owns homes in New Jersey and Brooklyn. He drives nice cars. But he'll tell you the real wealth is peace. In 2020, doctors diagnosed him with nonverbal learning disorder. It explained why social situations always felt difficult. He continues therapy, not to fix himself once, but to keep growing. His daughters are grown now. Lola studies in Paris. Zara attends USC doing humanitarian work like her mother. Chris calls them every night. He flies across the country to see them. He's present. My daughters are the only standing ovations that still matter, he says. In 2024, his animated series, Everybody Still Hates Chris, premiered. It brought his story to a new generation. He's developing new projects, acting, directing, still creating. He performs in small clubs sometimes. No announcement. No cameras. Just Chris and a microphone, testing material, speaking truth. When it's good, he says, it feels like breathing. He donates millions to education and charity. Quietly, without publicity. He helps others get the chances he never had. His comedy changed over the years. The jokes come slower now, deeper, more human. He's not trying to shock anymore. He's trying to heal. Chris Rock's life teaches us something powerful. Greatness isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up. It's about turning pain into purpose. He was bullied as a child. He found comedy. He was broke and hungry. He kept working. He lost his father, his brother, his friends. He kept going. His marriage failed. He took responsibility. He was humiliated on live TV. He responded with grace. Every loss taught him something. Every failure made him stronger. Every mistake became a lesson. Today, he's not the angriest comedian. He's the wisest. He's not performing for applause anymore. He's speaking for peace. The stages will fade. The crowds will move on. But in a quiet house in New Jersey, two voices still call out, Dad. And in that sound, everything he's lost and everything he's found comes together. Chris Rock proved that broken people can make the world laugh. That pain can become art. That even when you fall in front of millions, you can stand up with dignity. His story isn't perfect, but it's real. And real stories are the ones worth telling. Drop a comment sharing which part of Chris Rock's journey inspired you most. His childhood resilience, his comedy breakthrough, or his grace after the Oscar slap.